Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy History Channel. Tonight, we are stepping into the long and winding story of money. Not just coins and notes, but the invisible threads of trust, power, fear, hope, and ambition that have shaped human lives for thousands of years. Money has decided who could travel, who could eat, who could rule, and who would be remembered. It has given rise to cities and just as easily helped erase them. This is a history filled with surprising turns. Moments when belief mattered more than gold. Times when a symbol carried more weight than metal. Stories where value was argued, defended, and sometimes lost overnight. Money has always been more than a tool. It is a mirror of what societies fear, desire, and agree to believe together. As you listen, you may begin to notice how deeply money is woven into everyday life, and how often its form changes while its purpose stays familiar. This is a journey through markets and empires, promises and risks, invention and collapse. A story that is still unfolding around us. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, allow your shoulders to soften and your breathing to slow. Let the day loosen its grip as your attention drifts into this remarkable human story. Let's begin. Money began as trust, long before coins ever touched a palm. Before anyone stamped metal, communities still needed a way to remember who owed what. So value lived inside relationships. A fisherman might give today's catch to a potter as a favor that could be repaid later. Over time, those favors became more formal. They turned into spoken promises, tally marks, and witness-backed agreements. In ancient towns, people used simple records to track obligations for grain, labor, or livestock. Once a group accepts that a promise can be transferred, something remarkable happens. Trust becomes portable. It can move between strangers. It can be stored for later. It can be inherited. That invisible shift is the beginning of money. It is not metal or paper first. It is shared belief made practical. Every banknote is a promise, backed by law, faith, and habit. A banknote feels like an object, yet its power comes from an agreement. The paper itself is not valuable in the way bread is valuable when you are hungry. Its value comes from what it can command in the world. Governments support that command through laws that require it to be accepted for debts. Banks support it through systems that exchange it, count it, and protect it. People support it through everyday repetition because it keeps working. The note also carries a kind of performance. It shows seals, signatures, fine lines, and shifting inks that say, "This is real." Even the feel of the paper is engineered to resist imitation. When you hand a note to a stranger and walk away with what you need, you are watching a promise succeed in real time. A single coin can outlive empires, carrying power into new ages. Coins are small time capsules. A ruler can fall, a capital can burn, and borders can be redrawn. Yet a coin can survive in a pocket, a shipwreck, or a forgotten jar beneath a floor. Centuries later, it can surface again and still speak. Its weight hints at old standards of value. Its metal can reveal trade routes and mining power. Its imagery can show what a state wanted people to worship, fear, or admire. Sometimes coins keep circulating even after the authority that minted them has vanished. People accept them because the metal is familiar, or because the design is trusted, or because there is nothing better available. In that way, a coin can become a traveler through regimes. It carries yesterday's power forward, even when yesterday is gone. Bartering sounds simple, yet it breaks down when needs do not match. Imagine walking into a market with a basket of eggs, hoping to leave with a new tool. The blacksmith might already have eggs, or might want cloth, or might need help repairing a roof. Barter can work among close neighbors because social ties fill the gaps. With strangers, it becomes a puzzle. You need a perfect coincidence of wants at the same time, in the same place, with goods that are easy to compare. Even when a deal is possible, bargaining can take ages. How many eggs equal a knife, and what happens when the eggs go bad tomorrow? As trade grows, that friction becomes costly. Money appears as a shortcut. It lets you sell to one person and buy from another, without forcing three lives to align in a single moment. The word salary traces back to salt, once precious enough to pay workers. Salt seems ordinary now, yet for much of history, it was a strategic necessity. It preserves meat and fish, it seasons food, and it helps prevent hunger when winter closes in. When a substance is essential and hard to replace, it gains the feel of money. That is why salt appears in old trade routes, state controls, and taxes that could anger whole regions. The language of payment carries this legacy. The link between salt and wages reminds you that money begins with what a society cannot do without. It also shows how payment has always been tied to logistics. If salt must be mined, evaporated, transported, and guarded, then control of salt can fund armies and build administrations. A simple crystal becomes a lever of power. When you hear the word salary, you are hearing an echo of a time when preserving dinner could decide survival. Coin clipping turned small shavings into big trouble for whole kingdoms. It begins with a blade and a quiet temptation. When coins were made of precious metal, each edge held value. A clipper took tiny slivers from many coins, then gathered the shavings into a hidden pile that can be melted later. Each individual coin still looked real, so it kept moving through markets. The damage appeared slowly. Merchants started weighing coins. Honest people got accused of cheating when they offered light pieces they never altered. Prices rose to protect against loss, and trade became tense and suspicious. Governments responded with harsh punishments, public warnings, and redesigned coinage with ridged edges that exposed tampering. Yet the deeper problem was confidence. If everyone doubts the coins in their hand, they doubt every price tag too. Clipping shows how a crime that seems small can become a national headache. It does not only steal metal, it steals trust, and trust is harder to mint. War has often rewritten money faster than any peaceful reform. War creates urgent needs, and urgency hates delay. Armies must be fed, armed, clothed, and paid, even when treasuries are empty. So states improvise. They raise taxes, borrow at harsh terms, and sometimes create emergency money that can spread overnight. Occupied towns have seen new notes appear with new faces and new rules. Border regions have watched one currency replace another as soldiers advance. Shortages can push governments to control prices and ration goods, which reshapes what money can buy. War also changes confidence. If people doubt a government will survive, they stop trusting its promises. That doubt can break a currency faster than any official decree. Peaceful reform usually crawls through debate and procedure. War can flip the table in a week, then force everyone to live with the new system. Inflation can erase fortunes quietly, without stealing a single object. Inflation is a strange kind of loss because nothing is taken from your hands. The coins stay in your drawer. The bank balance still shows a number. What changes is what those numbers can do. If prices climb while pay and savings lag behind, money begins to feel lighter. It buys fewer meals. It warms fewer homes. It covers less rent. People adapt in ways that reveal the pressure. They rush to spend before prices rise again. They search for goods that hold value better than cash. They demand higher wages, which can push costs upward in a hard cycle. Inflation can be mild and manageable, or it can be severe and destabilizing. Either way, it teaches a blunt lesson. Money is not only a thing you own. It is a claim on real resources. When that claim weakens, even careful planning can quietly unravel. Debt has built cities, toppled kings, and fueled revolutions. Debt is time travel in financial form. It pulls tomorrow's resources into today. That power can build astonishing things. Canals, bridges, fleets, and public works often require far more money than a ruler or city has on hand. Borrowing makes the leap possible. Yet the same mechanism can become a trap. When repayment depends on taxes that people cannot bear, anger grows. When lenders demand higher interest because they fear default, costs spiral. History is full of states that found war easier to fund than peace, then discovered the bill never stops arriving. Debt can also shift power. Creditors can influence policy, trade, and even succession. In extreme cases, unpaid obligations become a spark for upheaval. People do not only rebel over ideals, they rebel over burdens that feel endless. Debt is not just accounting. It is a force that shapes who gets choices. Counterfeit money has sparked hangings, scandals, and sudden new security tricks. Counterfeiting is an attack on trust, so societies have treated it with fear. When fake money spreads, merchants hesitate, prices wobble, and ordinary people get blamed for passing notes they never made. In many places, punishment was brutal because the crime threatened the state's authority. Yet counterfeiters have often been clever craftsmen. They study ink, paper, and engraving the way an artist studies light. Every wave of forgery has pushed the next wave of defenses. Mints improved milling on coin edges to expose clipping. Printers added intricate patterns that break under copying. Later came watermarks, raised textures, and inks that shift color as you tilt the note. This becomes a contest where every improvement invites a response. The most fascinating part is the motive. Counterfeiters chase profit, but they also reveal a secret truth. Money works only while most people believe it. Paper money often started as receipts for coins stored elsewhere. Imagine depositing heavy coin with a trusted place, then receiving a slip of paper that proves your claim. That slip is easier to carry, easier to hide, and easier to transfer. If the keeper is respected, other people may accept the receipt as payment because they believe they can redeem it later. Over time, those receipts can begin circulating more than the coins themselves. The original metal stays tucked away, while trade happens through paper that represents it. This shift changes daily life. Shops can handle more transactions, with less risk of theft. Long journeys become safer because paper weighs almost nothing. It also creates a delicate reliance. The paper works only while people believe redemption is possible. When confidence is high, receipts feel as solid as coin. When confidence cracks, paper can feel like smoke. The astonishing part is how quickly people adapt. An object with almost no intrinsic value becomes powerful because a system of trust gives it teeth. Pirates chased silver because it was accepted almost everywhere, with little debate. A pirate did not want cargo that required persuasion. They wanted something that could be spent quickly in any port that might shelter them. Silver fit that need with brutal perfection. It was compact, widely recognized, and easy to divide among a crew without endless argument. A captured chest of silver could buy repairs, food, weapons, and silence. It could also be hidden and moved, which mattered for people living outside the law. This is why silver became a target on sea lanes, where merchant ships carried wealth in concentrated form. Pirates followed the logic of liquidity, even if they never used the word. They hunted what could be converted into survival with the fewest questions. The chase also shaped policy. Governments increased patrols, fortified harbors, and tightened paperwork, because every stolen shipment threatened both trade and credibility. In that sense, piracy was not only violence. It was a stress test for the money system. Double-entry bookkeeping changed commerce by making profit and loss visible. Before careful ledgers, a business could feel like a blur of purchases, sales, debts, and hope. Double-entry bookkeeping brought a new clarity. Every transaction was recorded twice, once as a source and once as a use. That structure forced balance, and it exposed mistakes that might otherwise stay hidden. More importantly, it revealed performance. A merchant could see whether a voyage truly earned money after costs, spoilage, taxes, and credit were accounted for. Partnerships became easier to manage because records could be shared and checked. Investors could be persuaded with evidence instead of stories. Over time, this reshaped what people considered success. Profit became something you could calculate, not just sense. It also changed ethics. Fraud became easier to detect when books had to reconcile. In a quiet way, ledgers helped capitalism grow up. They turned commerce into something that could be measured, compared, and scaled, and that made ambitious projects feel less like gambling. Some early paper currencies failed when printing outran real reserves. Paper makes it easy to create more money, and that ease can become a trap. If leaders face war costs, unpaid workers, or empty storehouses, printing looks like a fast solution. At first, it can even feel like a relief, because debts are paid and markets keep moving. Then the consequences arrive. Too much paper chasing the same goods pushes prices upward. People begin demanding more notes for basic items, and confidence erodes with every new issue. Soon, merchants refuse paper or demand huge amounts. Wages lag behind prices, and daily life becomes a scramble. When trust collapses, authorities may threaten punishment, yet fear cannot create value. Some early experiments ended with paper trading at a fraction of its stated worth, while citizens searched for sturdier stores of value. These failures were not only financial, they were social. They showed that money is a story people agree to tell together, and that printing cannot force belief when experience contradicts it. The Great Depression revealed how bank failures can spread like contagion. When banks fail, the damage rarely stays contained. One closure can frighten depositors at the next bank, even if that second bank was managed well. People line up to withdraw, and the act of withdrawing becomes the thing that breaks the system. As cash disappears from circulation, businesses struggle to pay workers and suppliers. Shops cut orders. Factories slow. Families postpone purchases, and that caution spreads through whole towns. What began as a financial shock becomes a daily reality, because money is the bloodstream of exchange. In the Great Depression, this chain reaction turned fear into a force that traveled faster than any train. It also revealed a harsh truth about trust. A bank is not only a building with a vault. It is a promise that works only when the public believes it will still work tomorrow. A bank run is fear made physical as crowds demand their share. Banks often keep only a fraction of deposits as cash because most money is lent out or invested. That works beautifully when people behave normally. It fails when panic spreads. A rumor, a headline, or the sight of one person withdrawing a large sum can trigger a rush. Suddenly, the safest choice feels like grabbing your funds before someone else does. Lines form. Tellers run out of cash. The very act of withdrawing becomes proof that there is danger. Even a healthy bank can be destroyed by that feedback loop, because no institution can pay everyone at once. The emotional force is what makes it so gripping. A bank run is not just accounting. It is a crowd trying to outrun uncertainty. Governments and central banks learn to dread these moments because they can spread from one bank to another like wildfire. When people stop trusting the system, they seek something they can hold, and that search can shake an entire economy. Central banks emerged to steady crises that private banks could not. When many small banks compete, they can fuel growth, yet they can also share a weakness. In a crisis, each bank tries to protect itself, and the system becomes fragile. Central banks developed as a response to that fragility. They could act as a lender of last resort, providing emergency liquidity when panic threatened to freeze payments. They could also coordinate policy, manage reserves, and create a tier framework for confidence. This did not make crises vanish, yet it changed the script. Instead of watching banks collapse one by one, states built institutions meant to calm markets and limit damage. Central banks also became powerful storytellers. Their announcements, rate decisions, and credibility could influence behavior before any money moved. The public began to watch them the way sailors watch weather. When a central bank is trusted, it can stop panic with a promise. When it is not trusted, even large interventions can fail. The emergence of these institutions is a history of learning how fear works and how to contain it. Bubbles show how stories can price assets more than reality can. A bubble often begins with something genuine, a new trade route, a promising invention, a fresh source of wealth. Then the story grows faster than the substance. People start repeating it with certainty, and certainty becomes contagious. Prices climb because everyone believes they will keep climbing, and that belief becomes the engine. Friends persuade friends. Newspapers amplify excitement. Skeptics feel foolish for waiting. Even careful investors can get pulled in, because watching others profit is a powerful force. The asset becomes less important than the expectation of selling it to someone else at a higher price. When the mood turns, it turns quickly. Doubt spreads the same way confidence did. Buyers vanish, and yesterday's sure thing becomes today's embarrassment. The real lesson is not that people are irrational. It is that humans use stories to navigate uncertainty, and markets can turn those stories into numbers. The South Sea bubble proved that rumor can bankrupt nobility. In early 18th century Britain, the South Sea Company became a glittering promise. It offered a plan to manage government debt and a vision of rich trade, and the vision mattered as much as any ship. Shares surged as fashionable society piled in, from shopkeepers hoping to rise to aristocrats protecting status through profit. The frenzy fed on itself. Prices climbed because everyone watched them climb. Inside the excitement, information became slippery. People traded on whispers, on printed optimism, and on the fear of missing out on history. Then, the spell broke. Confidence collapsed, and fortunes evaporated with shocking speed. Some investors were ruined, and the scandal shook politics and public trust. The aftermath mattered almost as much as the mania. It changed attitudes towards speculation, and it made many people realize that markets could feel like progress one week, then feel like betrayal the next. It was a national lesson in how quickly hope can be priced and repriced. The rise of credit cards changed spending by separating purchase from payment. A credit card introduced a new feeling at the checkout. You could take the goods today, and the cost would arrive later. That separation reshaped consumer behavior because it softened the immediate sting of parting with cash. It also created new business models. Retailers could sell more, faster, while banks and card networks earned fees and interest from the flow. Credit cards made travel and remote purchases easier because you could pay without carrying large sums. They also changed risk. Fraud took on new forms, and identity became more important at the moment of purchase. For households, credit cards could be a bridge through emergencies or a trap if balances grew and interest compounded. The deeper change was psychological. Money became less physical, and spending became less tied to the sensation of handing something over. That shift paved the way for later digital payments, yet it began with a simple swipe that turned trust into a transaction. Advertising helped normalize consumer debt, turning borrowing into everyday behavior. Once borrowing became easy, the next challenge was making it feel normal. Advertisers helped by wrapping credit in comfort, freedom, and modern identity. Instead of warning language, people saw smiling families, new cars, and effortless holidays. Monthly payments were presented as harmless, almost invisible, compared to the full price. Shops learned that a simple offer could change decisions in seconds, because it moved the question from, "Can I afford this?" to, "Can I afford the payment?" Over time, debt stopped sounding like emergency help and started sounding like a lifestyle tool. That shift reached into culture. Gifts could be bought before the money was earned. Renovations could be done now, then paid off later. The fascinating twist is that this was not only marketing, it was a re-education of instinct. When borrowing feels ordinary, an economy can grow faster. It can also become more fragile when shocks arrive. Microcredit promised empowerment, yet it also raised concerns about new debt burdens. Microcredit entered the world with a compelling story. Small loans could help people start businesses, smooth hard seasons, and build independence without waiting for wealthy patrons. In many places, the idea spread quickly because it offered something rare. It offered access. Borrowers could buy a sewing machine, stock a stall, or purchase seed, then repay over time. Yet the same structure can bite. If profits are smaller than expected, repayment becomes pressure. If loans are stacked, one loan can be used to cover another, and stress becomes a cycle. Group lending can create solidarity, and it can also create shame when someone cannot keep up. The debate is intense because the reality is mixed. For some, the loan is a ladder. For others, it is a weight. Microcredit reveals a deep truth about money. Access is powerful, but terms and timing decide whether power turns into freedom or fatigue. The first cryptocurrencies aimed to remove middlemen by replacing trust with code. The dream was bold. What if money could move without a bank acting as referee? Early cryptocurrency designs tried to solve a problem that haunted digital payments for decades, which is the risk of spending the same digital token twice. Instead of trusting one institution to keep the ledger, the system spread the ledger across many computers, then used cryptography and shared rules to agree on what happened. That meant a payment could be verified by the network itself, not by a single gatekeeper. Supporters saw freedom and openness. Anyone with an internet connection could participate, and censorship would be harder. Critics saw new risks, because if you lose keys or make a mistake, there may be no help desk. Either way, the idea changed conversations about what money is. It suggested that trust could be engineered, then distributed, then enforced by math and incentives. Mining digital coins echoes old mining, since both chase scarce rewards. Traditional mining is backbreaking work, but turns rock into treasure, and it runs on the hope that the next strike will be worth it. Digital mining borrowed that emotional logic. Participants devote computing power and electricity to compete for the right to add the next block of transactions. Then they earn newly issued coins and fees as a reward. It is a race, and races escalate. As more people join, the competition hardens, and simple home setups can become uncompetitive. Whole warehouses of machines appeared in places with cheap power, because efficiency became the difference between profit and loss. There is something strangely human about this. People build rigs, tune settings, and watch the results like prospectors watching a sluice. Yet the prize is not pulled from the ground. It is minted by rules. The scarcity is artificial, but the hunger is real, and the energy cost makes the hunt feel physical. Stablecoins try to mimic traditional money by anchoring value to familiar assets. Many cryptocurrencies swing in price, which makes them exciting for traders and awkward for daily spending. Stablecoins were created to feel calmer. They aim to keep a steady value, often by tying each token to a reference like a national currency. That promise can make them useful for quick transfers, especially between trading platforms, because users can move value without stepping back into the banking system each time. Yet the stability is not magic. It depends on the design. Some systems claim to hold reserves, and their credibility rests on whether those reserves exist, match the liabilities, and can be accessed in stress. Others rely on mechanisms that try to manage supply and demand, which can fail if confidence breaks. Stablecoins are fascinating because they reveal what people want from money. They want speed and reach, but they also want predictability. When either part wobbles, trust becomes the real battleground again. Central bank digital currencies are being explored to modernize money without losing control. Governments watched private digital money grow, and many asked a pragmatic question. If people increasingly pay with phones and apps, what happens to state-issued money in daily life? A central bank digital currency, often shortened to CBDC, is one possible answer. It would be a digital form of official money, designed to work efficiently in modern payment systems while keeping the central bank at the core. Supporters imagine faster settlement, lower transaction costs, and improved access for people who struggle with traditional banking. Policymakers also consider resilience, because a public digital auction could reduce reliance on a few private networks. Critics worry about surveillance and control, because a system designed by the state could track transactions more closely than cash ever could. The tension is the point. A CBDC is not only technology. It is a redesign of the relationship between citizens, banks, and the state, expressed through the most everyday act of all, which is paying. A coin's weight once mattered more than its portrait or its language. Before strong national standards, a coin was often treated like a piece of metal first, and a symbol second. Traders might ignore the ruler's face and focus on the feel of the coin in the hand. Is it heavy enough? Does it ring true when tapped? Does it match the expected size? In many markets, coins were accepted by weight, not by the value stamped on them. That meant a foreign coin could be perfectly welcome, and a local coin could be rejected if the metal content was suspicious. This way of thinking also shaped prices. A merchant could quote a deal in a weight of silver rather than a particular coin. It is a reminder that money is often a compromise between two ideas. One idea says value is declared by authority, The other says value must be proven by substance. For long stretches of history, substance won the argument at the marketplace table. The spread of scales and assayers helped markets agree on honest metal. A good scale is a weapon against deception. Once reliable weighing became common, it became harder to cheat with light coins, alloy tricks, or shaved edges. Scales turned judgment into a repeatable test, and that changed how strangers could trade. Assayers added another layer. They could examine metal quality and confirm purity, which mattered when different regions used different standards. In busy commercial centers, these tools created a kind of shared language. A merchant from one city could accept payment in unfamiliar coins because the weight could be checked and the metal could be tested. This did not eliminate fraud, yet it raised the cost of lying. It also made markets faster. When people trust the measurement, they spend less time arguing and more time exchanging. There is something quietly thrilling about that. A small device on a counter can expand trade routes. It can connect communities because it turns suspicion into numbers that everyone can see. When mints controlled quality, trade expanded because suspicion shrank. A trustworthy mint does more than produce coins. It produces confidence. When people believe coins will be consistent in weight and metal, they stop treating every payment like a gamble. That reliability speeds up markets. It also supports larger systems, like paying workers, collecting taxes, and provisioning ships. Strong mints were guarded carefully because a mint was a strategic asset. If quality slipped, even for a short time, the damage could spread beyond borders, since traders would grow wary of the coinage everywhere it traveled. Good minting required skilled workmanship and strict oversight. Dies had to be precise, metal supplies tracked, and output controlled. When those pieces came together, money became more predictable, and predictability attracts commerce. Merchants can plan. Prices can stabilize. Credit can grow. A well-run mint is not just a factory. It is an engine that turns metal into trust, and trust into movement across roads and seas. Spanish-American silver flooded Eurasia, tying continents into one price system. When vast new streams of silver began leaving the Americas, they did not stay local for long. They moved through Atlantic ports, across caravan routes, and into Asian markets that hungered for reliable bullion. That flow linked distant shoppers and farmers in a way few people could see. If silver became more abundant in Europe, prices could rise there, and merchants would chase goods elsewhere, which shifted demand far beyond a single coastline. In parts of Asia, silver became a preferred way to settle large payments, so ships carried it onward again, like a tide that never stopped. The result was a surprising kind of early globalization. A miner's output could affect a merchant's prices, and those prices could reach a village that had never heard of the mine. Money became a bridge between worlds that never met. The world once ran on silver so fiercely that mines became geopolitics. The long stretches of history, silver was the workhorse of global exchange. It was portable, divisible, and widely desired. That meant a rich silver deposit could shape international power as surely as a navy could. Mining regions became strategic because whoever controlled the flow could influence trade far beyond their borders. Silver traveled along caravans and sea routes, crossing languages and religions with fewer arguments than most goods. In parts of Asia, demand for silver to pay taxes and settle accounts pulled metal from distant continents. In Europe and the Americas, new supplies changed prices and incentives, which altered what farmers grew and what merchants shipped. Silver did not simply sit in vaults. It moved like blood through the world economy. When shortages hit, commerce tightened. When surpluses arrived, markets expanded. A single mine could shift the balance of bargaining power across oceans. The gold standard fell apart when governments needed flexibility to survive. Linking currency to gold can feel comforting because it suggests limits and discipline. Yet those limits become painful in crises. If a government promises that money can be exchanged for gold at a fixed rate, it must protect its gold reserves. During financial panics, people demand gold, and reserves drain quickly. During deep downturns, governments may want to expand spending and credit to prevent collapse. A rigid gold link can block that response because creating more money risks breaking the promised exchange. In the early 20th century, wars and depression strained these constraints until they snapped. Countries suspended convertibility, imposed controls, or abandoned the system entirely. The story is not just technical, it is human. Leaders faced impossible choices between defending a rule and feeding citizens. Once enough people believed the promise could not hold, the promise itself became the problem. Flexibility won, and gold stepped back. Modern money moves at the speed of signals, not wagons. For most of history, paying someone far away meant moving something physical. You shipped metal, carried paper, or relied on a messenger who could be robbed, delayed, or lost. Today, money can cross continents as data. A salary can arrive by automated transfer while you sleep. A purchase can be approved in moments through networks that verify identity and balance. This speed has changed business and daily life. It allows supply chains to coordinate payments across time zones. It supports online markets that never close. It also creates new kinds of vulnerability. Outages can freeze commerce. Fraud can scale quickly when attacks are digital. Governments can track flows more easily, which raises hard questions about privacy and power. Yet the basic magic remains familiar. Two strangers can exchange value and walk away satisfied. The only difference is the vehicle. The wagon became a wire, then became a pulse of light. Before coins, people paid with cattle, salt, shells, and measured grain. In early communities, wealth was often something you could eat, plant, wear, or herd. Cattle could multiply, yet they were hard to divide fairly. Grain could be measured and stored, yet it could spoil or be stolen. Salt was vital for preserving food, so it carried real demand in daily life. Cowrie shells were light, durable, and countable, which helped them travel between villages and across coasts. Each choice solved one problem and created another. A good money had to be widely wanted, easy to recognize, and difficult to fake with local tricks. These early forms also reveal something intimate about history. People chose money that matched survival. When your world runs on harvests and winter stores, the most trusted payment is often the thing that keeps you alive. The first states used taxes to force a shared money into daily life. A ruler can declare a currency, yet people do not have to care. The clever move is to demand that taxes be paid in that currency. Suddenly, everyone needs it. Farmers, potters, and traders begin accepting the official money because they know they must pass it on to the state. This creates a loop. The government spends the currency into circulation by paying workers or soldiers, then pulls it back through taxes. Over time, the currency becomes normal, not because it is beautiful, but because it is necessary. This is one reason money and power are so often tangled together. A tax system can turn a symbol into a daily tool, and it can pull faraway villages into the same economic rhythm. What begins as policy can become habit, and habit can feel like nature. Temple storehouses once acted like banks, guarding grain and issuing claims. In many ancient cities, the safest building was not a home or a shop. It was the temple complex, protected by walls, guards, and the fear of the gods. People brought grain and other goods there for storage, especially after harvest. Once a trusted institution holds your goods, a new possibility appears. You can receive a record that proves what you deposited. That record can travel, even when the grain stays put. A person could transfer a claim rather than carry heavy sacks through dangerous streets. The storehouse also became a place where officials could track supplies, manage shortages, and distribute rations. This was not banking in the modern sense, yet the heartbeat is familiar. Safekeeping creates trust. Trust creates records. Records create exchange. A quiet warehouse becomes a financial engine, simply by being the place everyone believes will still be standing tomorrow. Some banknotes include hidden symbols built to help people who are blind identify value. Money is a tool, and a tool should work for as many hands as possible. For people with limited sight, identifying banknotes can be stressful, especially in busy shops or noisy streets where assistance may not be available. Some currencies address this by including tactile features. Raised printing can be felt with fingertips. Different denominations may have distinct sizes or patterns. Some include marks that are intentionally placed to guide touch, so a person can tell values apart without needing to see a number. These details are easy to overlook if you do not need them, yet they can change daily independence for someone who does. They also show how design carries ethics. A banknote is not only a symbol of a nation, it is a daily interface between citizens and the economy. When that interface is inclusive, it quietly expands dignity. A simple texture can turn a purchase from a moment of anxiety into a moment of confidence. Clay tablets recorded loans, interest, and wages millennia before paper existed. Long before ink on parchment, accountants pressed stories into wet clay. A tablet could capture a loan of grain, the date it was due, and the witness who would confirm the agreement. Another tablet might record a worker's wages, paid in rations or silver by weight. These records did more than remember. They changed behavior. When obligations are written down, they become harder to deny and easier to enforce. They can be stored, compared, and audited by officials. They can even outlast the people who made them, which gives contracts a longer life than memory. Clay is humble, yet it preserves detail with startling honesty. A fingerprint might still be visible where someone sealed the deal. When you hold that tablet, you are holding an ancient moment of finance. It is proof that money history is also paperwork history, and paperwork is power. Early interest rates were debated as morality, not mere mathematics. To charge interest is to put a price on time. That idea can feel reasonable, or it can feel predatory, depending on who needs the loan. In many societies, religious leaders and lawmakers argued fiercely about when interest was fair. Was it acceptable for trade, where risk was real? Was it cruel for survival, when a family needed seed grain to avoid hunger? Some traditions banned interest in certain contexts, while allowing profit sharing or service fees that fit within moral boundaries. These debates mattered because lending was not abstract. A bad harvest could turn a small debt into disaster. A high rate could trap a borrower for years. The struggle was about more than numbers. It was about what kind of society people wanted to live in. When you hear arguments about predatory lending today, you are hearing an echo of very old questions about fairness, need, and power. Some ancient laws punished default harshly, treating debt like a crime. In early legal systems, debt was not always a private misfortune. It could be treated as a breach of order. When a borrower could not repay, the consequences might involve losing land, losing freedom, or being forced into labor for the creditor. In extreme cases, family members could be pulled into the fallout because households were seen as financial units. These punishments were meant to protect trust, yet they also reveal how fragile life could be. One illness, one failed crop, and a family could slide from independence into dependence. Over time, some societies introduced limits, debt releases, or protections that softened the harshest outcomes. Those reforms were not only kindness, they were survival strategies for the state. If too many people are crushed by obligations, farms fail, soldiers disappear, and unrest grows. Debt law was never just about money. It was about keeping society from tearing itself apart. The first coins made value portable and made taxation easier to enforce. A coin is a small machine for agreement. It takes metal which already has value and turns it into a unit that can be counted quickly. That makes markets faster. It also makes government sharper. With coins, officials can demand precise payments, collect them efficiently, and store wealth in compact form. You no longer need to accept a cart of goods, then argue about quality and measure. A pile of standardized pieces can represent the same obligation without debate. Coins also help wages travel. A worker can be paid, then spend in another town without bringing a whole harvest along. This portability encourages trade, migration, and larger projects that need paid labor. It changes daily life in subtle ways. Prices become easier to compare, and bargaining becomes less exhausting. A stamped piece of metal can reshape an economy because it lets value move through the world at walking speed. Coin designs were propaganda, placing rulers into every marketplace conversation. When a state controls a mint, it controls the images people touch every day. A ruler's face or symbol can appear in the hands of farmers, sailors, and street sellers, even if they never see the palace. That repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity can become legitimacy. Designs also send messages about victory, divine favor, or national identity. A new dynasty might change the imagery to announce a new order. A conquering power might keep familiar designs to reduce resistance, or replace them to make the change undeniable. Even the choice of language on a coin can signal who is included and who is ignored. In this way, money becomes a traveling announcement, circulating through taverns and temples, markets and ports. People might argue over taxes or laws, yet the coin silently insists on the state's story. It is propaganda disguised as payment, and it is remarkably effective because nobody can opt out of handling it. Debasing coins stretched treasuries and often stretched public patience too. A government in trouble might look at its coinage and see an opportunity. If coins contain less precious metal but keep the same face value, more coins can be minted from the same supply. On paper, it feels like a clever solution. In the real world, people notice. Merchants weigh coins. Money changers test them. Prices adjust as trust weakens. Older, heavier coins may be hoarded or melted down, while lighter coins flood the streets. The public begins to suspect every transaction, and suspicion slows trade. Debasement can also become political dynamite. If wages are paid in weakened money while taxes demand full value, resentment grows fast. Sometimes debasement is done quietly. Sometimes it is a desperate response to war or shortage. Either way, it reveals a hard truth. Money is not just metal content. It is the shared belief that the content will not be secretly changed when you are not looking. Paying soldiers in coin helped empires project power far from home. An army is a moving city with sharp edges, and it needs supplies every day. When commanders carried standardized coin, they could buy food, animals, tools, and local services without hauling wagon loads of goods. That changed strategy. Troops could march farther, stay longer, and operate in regions where their own farms were nowhere nearby. Coin also helped with discipline. A paid soldier is easier to manage than a hungry soldier promised future rewards. Local merchants, camp followers, and contractors gathered around armies because payment was immediate and widely accepted. Over time, military demand could reshape entire regions, pulling grain into new routes and encouraging markets to grow along roads and forts. In some places, the coin in a legionary's pouch did as much to spread an empire as the sword. It carried state authority into daily transactions, one purchase at a time. Medieval merchants built credit networks that worked across borders and languages. Picture a trader leaving a port with cloth and spices on the mind, and bandits on every road. Carrying heavy coin invites trouble, so merchants learned to carry something more subtle. They relied on relationships, letters, and reputations that stretched from fairs to city squares. A merchant could obtain goods on credit from one partner, sell them elsewhere, then settle accounts later through trusted intermediaries. Merchant families and guilds helped enforce these promises, because a ruined reputation could end a career faster than a storm could sink a ship. These networks worked across different laws and currencies, because the real foundation was mutual advantage. Traders needed ways to do business with strangers, and credit became a bridge. It also created a new kind of power. Those who could extend credit could shape markets, influence prices, and survive disruptions that broke smaller rivals. Commerce became a web, and the web became wealth. Bills of exchange let traders move value without moving heavy metal. A bill of exchange sounds simple, yet it changed travel and trade. Instead of hauling coin across dangerous routes, a merchant could deposit funds with a trusted banker or agent, then carry a written order that could be redeemed in Dao. Another city. The paper was valuable because it connected two places through a relationship. If the document was lost or stolen, it could often be cancelled, which made it safer than a sack of silver. Bills also helped with currency confusion. A trader might deal with one coinage at home, then exchange value abroad through agreed rates written into the bill. This turned finance into a kind of navigation, where the safest path was the one made of signatures and seals. It also sped up commerce. Deals could be arranged with fewer delays, and long-distance trade became more routine. With paper promises moving ahead of ships and caravans, markets began to feel closer than geography suggested. Lenders learned that reputation could be as valuable as collateral. In many times and places, borrowers did not have land to pledge or treasure to pawn. What they had was their name. A lender who knows you will repay is willing to offer better terms, even without tangible security. This turned reputation into a kind of invisible asset. Communities tracked it through gossip, records, and repeated dealings. Merchants used it to buy goods before a voyage, then repay after selling abroad. Households relied on it to bridge hard seasons, especially when harvests were unpredictable. Reputation also created social pressure. Default could mean more than financial loss. It could mean exclusion from future trade, public shame, and the collapse of alliances. In larger markets, reputation began to be formalized through references, endorsements, and eventually credit histories. The fascinating part is the shift in what counts as wealth. A person with a reliable pattern of keeping promises can access resources they do not yet possess. That is powerful, and it is fragile. A single scandal can turn an admired name into a closed door. Pawnshops offered quick liquidity, long before modern consumer credit existed. If you needed cash fast, you did not wait for a bank manager to like your story. You walked into a pawn shop with something real in your hands. A cloak, a ring, a tool set, a silver spoon. The deal was blunt and immediate. The item stayed behind the counter, and you left with money and a deadline. For many working families, this was not a last resort. It was a routine way to bridge gaps between wages and emergencies. Pawnshops also created a strange kind of archive of daily life. What people pawned reveals what they owned, what they valued, and what they could bear to lose for a while. The system had risks because interest and fees could bite hard. Yet it also offered access when respectable lenders shut their doors. In a world full of uncertainty, pawning turned possessions into breathing room. The Silk Road moved not only goods but also methods of payment. A caravan crossing deserts cannot afford financial confusion at every stop. Along the Silk Road, traders learned to speak in more than words. They spoke in weights, seals, and trusted documents. Coins from faraway rulers might be accepted in one oasis and rejected in the next. So merchants carried knowledge as carefully as they carried silk. They learned which mints were respected, which local officials were honest, and which brokers could settle accounts without cheating. In busy hubs, money changers became essential translators, turning one form of value into another for a fee. Credit also traveled. A trusted name could open doors in cities the merchant had never seen. This was not a single road. It was a chain of marketplaces, each with its own rules. Payment methods evolved because traders demanded reliability across distance, and reliability became profitable. Islamic finance shaped contracts that balanced trade, risk, and religious rules. In many Islamic legal traditions, charging interest in a simple lending sense was restricted, so merchants and scholars developed other ways to finance commerce. Instead of selling time for money, contracts could share risk and reward. A partner might provide capital while another provided labor and expertise. Then profits were divided by agreement. For trade, goods could be purchased and resold with a disclosed markup, which framed profit as part of exchange rather than a fee for waiting. These structures encouraged clarity. Terms had to be stated, responsibilities defined, and uncertainty reduced. The result was a rich toolbox for business that could support long-distance trade while staying within moral boundaries. It also shaped institutions, from marketplaces to courts that handled commercial disputes. The deeper story is about creativity under constraint. When a society insists that finance must answer to ethics, people do not stop trading. They design new paths, and those paths can influence economies for centuries. Chinese paper money rose with strong states and faltered when trust faded. Paper currency can feel like a miracle when it works. It is light to carry, easy to count, and far safer than hauling metal across rough terrain. In China, large-scale paper money depended on administration that could print consistently, prevent forgery, and enforce acceptance. When government authority was strong, the system could support big markets and long-distance trade. When authority weakened, paper promises became fragile. If people suspected overprinting, they rushed to swap notes for goods, which pushed prices upward and damaged confidence further. Once doubt becomes common, even honest notes can be treated like a trick. What makes this history gripping is how modern it feels. A currency is not only a technology, it is a relationship between the public and the issuer. Paper is patient. It will sit quietly in your hand. Trust is the part that moves, and when it moves, the whole economy shifts with it. Cowrie shells traveled astonishing distances, becoming global money in miniature. These small shells began in warm waters, yet they ended up in markets far from any sea. They were durable, easy to string, and hard to imitate convincingly without access to the real source. Those traits helped them become a form of everyday money in many places, especially where coin was scarce. Their journey also reveals how money can be shaped by trade winds and shipping routes. A shell can cross continents because merchants see profit in moving something light that many people recognize. Over time, shells could become tied to social life. They might be used for small purchases, ceremonial gifts, or savings kept in a jar. The system had a hidden vulnerability. If supply suddenly increased, value could fall, and communities could feel that shock in their daily transactions. Cowrie shells show that global money is not always minted by empires. Sometimes it arrives in pockets and pouches, carried by traders who follow demand. In many ports, foreign coins circulated freely because merchants valued certainty. Harbors are places where strangers must agree quickly. A sailor wants food, a dock worker wants wages, a trader wants cargo released before the tide changes. In that pressure, familiar coins can matter more than national pride. If a foreign coin has a reliable weight and a reputation for honest metal, merchants may accept it without hesitation. Port cities often became multilingual in money, with several currencies passing hand to hand in the same afternoon. Money changers set up near markets, ready to swap one kind of coin for another based on daily supply and demand. This created a practical tolerance. A coin from a distant kingdom could buy bread as long as it was trusted. The port becomes a classroom in how commerce really works. People do not choose money because it matches a flag. They choose it because it reduces risk. In that sense, busy harbors were early laboratories for international finance. The Manila galleons linked Chinese demand to American mines through ocean routes. Across the Pacific, massive ships carried a simple bargain that reshaped the world. Silver, mined in the Americas, was shipped to Manila, where it was traded for Asian goods that European markets craved. Chinese merchants wanted silver for large-scale payments, and that steady demand helped pour bullion across an ocean that once seemed too wide for routine. Commerce. In return came silks, porcelains, spices, and luxuries that turned distant craftsmanship into household dreams. The voyage was long and dangerous, and storms could erase fortunes in a single night. Pirates and privateers also watched these routes with hungry attention. Yet the traffic continued because the incentives were enormous. This was not only trade in objects. It was trade in trust and settlement, using silver as a language both sides would accept. An ocean became a corridor, and money was the passport. Price revolutions can start in one mine, then ripple through whole societies. A sudden increase in precious metal does not feel like magic for long. When more money enters circulation, people can pay higher prices, and sellers learn quickly what the market will tolerate. Over time, the cost of bread, rent, and wages can shift, and that shift rearranges daily life. Those who receive the new money early can benefit because they buy goods before prices adjust. Those who receive it late can feel squeezed because their pay rises after the bills do. This can change politics as well as shopping. Governments may collect taxes that no longer cover expenses. Landowners may demand higher rents. Workers may protest because their labor buys less than it used to. The drama is that no one needs to conspire for this to happen. A mine can open, a flow can surge, and the whole economy can tilt, one price at a time. Colonial taxes often demanded coin, pushing subsistence communities into cash economies. Many communities lived largely through what they grew, made, and shared. Then, an outside power arrived with a new rule. Taxes must be paid in coin. That single requirement could change everything. A household that once focused on feeding itself now needed a source of cash. People might grow a cash crop instead of food. or sell labor at plantations, mines, or construction sites. Local markets expanded, not always by choice, but by necessity. The demand for coin also created vulnerability. If coin was scarce, families could fall behind, and punishment could follow. This pressure encouraged extraction, because colonial systems often controlled the routes through which coin entered and left. It also changed social life. Debts grew. Migration increased. Traditional obligations were replaced by deadlines. The striking part is how quietly the transformation begins. A tax notice can reach further than a musket, because it reshapes what people must do every season. Plantations ran on credit cycles that trapped workers between seasons and debts. Plantation economies often had a rhythm set by planting and harvest, and money moved in pulses rather than a steady stream. Owners needed supplies, tools, and labor before the crop could be sold, so they relied on credit. Merchants and lenders provided goods now in exchange for repayment later, often with terms that favored the powerful. Workers and tenant farmers could be pulled into the same cycle. They bought necessities on credit while waiting for wages or crop shares, then discovered that repayment swallowed what they earned. The next season began with the same shortfall and the same dependence. This created a form of control that did not always require chains. A ledger could do the job. The debt relationship could limit mobility, because leaving meant abandoning any hope of settling accounts. Plantation credit shows how finance can shape freedom. It can also shape time, because tomorrow's harvest becomes a claim on today's choices. Company scrip could turn a town into one long ledger of dependence. In some company towns, the employer did not only provide work. It provided housing, stores, and sometimes the very money used for payment. Company scrip was a private currency, issued by the company and accepted in company-controlled shops. On the surface, it solved a problem, because it gave workers a medium of exchange when official cash was scarce. In practice, it could trap people. Prices in the company store could be high, wages could be low, and savings in scrip could be useless outside the town. If a worker tried to leave, the money in their pocket might not travel with them. This system also blurred the line between employment and governance. The company became employer, landlord, and banker at once. That concentration of power could create a feeling of inevitability, like the town itself was a contract you never finished signing. Scrip is a reminder that who controls money can control movement and control choices. Banknotes made robbery lighter, since paper carried wealth without the weight. Once wealth could travel as paper, the risks of travel changed. A merchant no longer needed a mule train of metal to pay for goods in another city. A small bundle of notes could represent sums that once required heavy chests and armed guards. This made commerce easier, but it also reshaped crime. Robbers could steal a fortune that fit inside a coat and disappear faster than ever before. It also changed security habits. People hid money in clothing, inside luggage seams, and even inside letters. Trust became a travel companion, because a note is only valuable if others accept it. That meant thieves needed buyers, fences, or ways to pass stolen notes without suspicion. The drama of banknotes is that they increase both freedom and fragility. They lighten the load for honest trade, and they lighten it for criminals too. A new technology of money invites a new technology of risk. Printing presses made money easier to create and easier to fake. When money depends on printing, a nation's wealth begins to share a workspace with ink, paper, and skilled hands. Printing presses made it possible to produce notes quickly, in large numbers, and with consistent designs. That power helped governments and banks meet growing demand for currency. It also opened the door to new kinds of forgery. A counterfeiter no longer needed a secret mint and metal supplies. They needed the ability to imitate patterns, inks, and marks that signaled authenticity. This created a constant race. Printers adopted finer lines, complex backgrounds, and special paper to stay ahead. Forgers adapted by improving tools and learning how people actually inspect money, which is often quickly and carelessly. The tension is that printing makes money scalable, and anything scalable attracts imitation. The press is both a solution and a vulnerability. It can stabilize trade, and it can destabilize trust, depending on who controls the craft. Early banknote art became a quiet arms race against counterfeiters. Banknotes began to carry more than numbers. They carried design choices meant to defeat the human eye and the careless glance. Engravers filled notes with intricate linework that is easy to recognize and hard to reproduce. Patterns were built to break under copying, and small details were placed where a fake would often blur or misalign. Notes also used symbolism to signal authority, with crests, allegorical figures, and official signatures that implied a whole institution standing behind Dol Bor, the paper. Over time, people learned to judge money not just by what it promised, but by how it looked and felt. That learning became part of everyday life. A shopkeeper might tilt a note, rub it between fingers, or scan for a mark remembered from experience. The result was a strange blend of art and policing. Beauty served a purpose. It protected trust. It also made money a portable gallery of power, designed to be handled by everyone and doubted by no one. The first stock exchanges turned ownership into paper that could be traded. Suddenly, a share in a voyage or a company did not need to stay locked inside one family. It could be written down, priced, and sold to someone else. That shift sounds technical, yet it changed human behavior. Once ownership became transferable, people began treating it like a living thing that could rise or fall each day. Coffee houses and trading floors filled with rumors, ledgers, and quick negotiations. A person who had never seen a distant plantation or a faraway ship could still profit from it, simply by holding the right paper. This created new opportunities and new temptations. It also created a new kind of crowd psychology, where confidence could lift prices without any change in the real world. Markets became places where the future was bought and sold in public, and that turned commerce into theater with real consequences. Tulip mania became famous because it reveals how value can unmoor. In the Dutch Republic, rare tulip varieties became status symbols, and status can make people do strange arithmetic. Collectors competed for unusual colors and patterns, and prices rose far beyond the cost of growing a flower. Contracts began changing hands, sometimes before bulbs were even lifted from the ground. The fascination was not only botanical, it was social. Owning the right tulip signaled taste, wealth, and insider knowledge. Stories traveled faster than bulbs, and excitement turned into a rush. Then confidence faltered, and the market cooled. What makes the episode memorable is the simplicity of the object. A tulip cannot defend its price with utility or durability. It depends on desire, fashion, and agreement. That is why it still gets mentioned whenever people argue about irrational markets. It offers a clear mirror. When value drifts away from everyday meaning, price becomes a kind of spell, and spells can break. National debts grew when states learned they could borrow against future taxes. Once governments discovered that creditors would lend based on the reliability of taxation, the scale of state power expanded. A ruler no longer had to wait for revenues to arrive before funding war, building fleets, or repairing infrastructure. Borrowing pulled future income into the present, and that made the state feel larger than its current cash. Over time, national debt became a permanent feature rather than an emergency measure. This also changed politics. Tax policy became tied to creditworthiness. A government that frightened lenders paid more to borrow, and that meant higher burdens on citizens. A government that inspired confidence could raise vast sums quickly, and that created advantages in conflict and commerce. Debt also became a way to bind a population to the state, because bondholders had a stake in stability. The fascinating twist is that borrowing can look like weakness, yet it can also be a sign of trust. The world began pricing nations like borrowers, and nations began behaving like borrowers. Bonds let ordinary savers fund governments and share in state power. A bond turns a citizen into a quiet partner of the state. You hand over money now, and you receive a promise of repayment later, often with interest. That simple contract can draw huge numbers of people into national finance, not as subjects, but as stakeholders. Governments learn to sell bonds not only with numbers, but with emotion. They appeal to patriotism during wars, and to security during peace. For savers, bonds offered a way to store wealth with a sense of legitimacy, especially when private ventures felt risky. The bond market also created a public signal. If bond prices fall, it suggests fear about the future. If they rise, it suggests confidence. That feedback can influence policy, elections, and even foreign relations. Bonds show how money and citizenship can intertwine. A person might never meet a minister, yet their savings can help determine what the state can build, defend, or attempt. Some revolutions were financed by printing money, then paid for by inflation. Revolutions often inherit empty treasuries and urgent needs. Soldiers require wages. Supplies must be bought. Administrations must run, even as old systems collapse. Printing money can feel like the only tool available because it creates immediate purchasing power. At first, it can seem like success. Payments go out, commerce restarts, and the new regime proves it can function. Then reality pushes back. If goods are scarce and notes multiply, prices climb. People begin to distrust the paper, and they spend it quickly, which can make inflation worse. Everyday life becomes unstable. A worker might be paid in the morning and rush to buy food before the afternoon price changes. The revolution gains momentum and loses credibility at the same time. This is the cruel paradox. Kunting helps a new order survive its first crisis, yet it can also plant a second crisis that erodes public faith. Money becomes both a weapon and a wound, and citizens feel the cost in their kitchens. The French assignats showed how politics can destroy a currency's credibility. The assignats began with a bold idea. They were tied to the value of seized church lands, which made them feel anchored to something real. In the first phase, they offered a way to fund a transforming state without immediate taxation that could spark revolt. Yet the system depended on restraint and confidence, and revolution is rarely a calm environment. As political pressures grew, more notes were issued. Opponents attacked the currency as illegitimate. Supporters demanded it be accepted everywhere. The struggle became public and emotional. Merchants adjusted prices. Citizens argued over fairness. Trust thinned. Once people suspected that the supply would keep growing, they treated the notes like hot coal. They tried to exchange them for goods as quickly as possible, and that behavior accelerated the decline. The assignat became a lesson written in daily purchases. A currency can start with assets and ideals, yet it can still fail if politics makes belief impossible to sustain. The American colonies issued paper money that sparked fierce arguments about value. In the colonies, coin was often scarce, and trade still had to happen. Paper money offered a practical solution, especially for paying expenses and supporting local commerce. Yet it opened a debate that reached into taverns, courts, and assemblies. Some people saw paper as necessary life support for growing economies. Others saw it as a dangerous temptation that could be overused, turning savings into disappointment. Different colonies experimented with different rules, and outcomes varied, which fueled more argument. Creditors often preferred harder money because it protected what they were owed. Debtors often preferred paper because it made payment easier. That split turned monetary policy into social conflict. The debate also involved authority. Who gets to decide what counts as money and how much should exist? These arguments did not stay local. They shaped relations with Britain and influenced later thinking about central control versus local flexibility. Colonial paper money was not only currency. It was a rehearsal for the tensions that would shape a new nation. Counterfeiting was once treated as treason because it attacked the state's word. When the government issues money, it is making a public statement that must be believed for society to function. Counterfeiting attacks that statement. It floods the market with lies that look like truth, and it makes every honest transaction feel uncertain. That is why many states treated counterfeiters as enemies of the realm, not mere thieves. The crime was seen as a direct assault on sovereignty because it undermined the power to tax, pay armies, and settle debts. Punishments were severe and public because authorities wanted fear to protect trust. Yet the harshness also reveals anxiety. If people stop believing money, law loses one of its strongest tools. The irony is that counterfeiters often succeed by understanding human habits. Most people do not examine money closely. They accept it because they expect others will accept it next. Treason laws tried to protect that chain of belief because the chain held up far more than commerce. It held up government itself. The Industrial Revolution demanded new banking because factories needed large upfront capital. A workshop can grow one apprentice at a time, yet a factory demands a leap. You need land, buildings, engines, raw materials, and payroll before the first sale. That gap between spending and earning pushed finance to evolve. Traditional lenders were used to short loans tied to a harvest or a voyage. Factories needed longer horizons because machines pay back slowly through steady output. Banks and investors began judging plans, markets, and management, not just collateral. This also changed who could become powerful. Families with connections to credit could scale quickly, while equally skilled rivals stayed small. Industrial towns felt the change in everyday life. Wages arrived on schedules. Savings accounts appeared for workers. Booms and slumps spread through communities when credit tightened or expanded. The machine age did not only transform production, it transformed the money structures that decided who could build and who had to watch. Railways expanded finance, since tracks required sums no single family held. A railway is a promise stretched across landscapes. It demands bridges, tunnels, stations, and steel, and it demands them before the first ticket is sold. No ordinary fortune could cover that alone, so railways became magnets for pooled capital. Investors bought shares and bonds, betting on future passengers and freight. Towns fought for stations because a rail stop could change local destiny, raising land values and drawing business. Speculators followed, and so did scandal, because wherever money gathers fast, deception tries to sneak in. Railways also changed the tempo of markets. Goods could move reliably, which made prices in distant places begin to talk to each other. A harvest in one region could affect supply far away. Finance grew larger because the projects grew larger, and because railways made returns measurable in timetables and tonnage. In a way, The rails were not only transportation. They were a pipeline for investment, linking wallets to geography. Checks made payments safer, yet they also created new kinds of fraud. A check is a quiet trick. Instead of handing over cash, you hand over instruction. It tells a bank to move value from one account to another. That made large payments less risky to carry, and it reduced the need to store heaps of cash in shops and homes. It also created new vulnerabilities. A stolen checkbook could become a thief's toolkit. Forged signatures could turn a simple slip of paper into a weapon. Criminals learned to wash ink, alter amounts, and exploit the time delay between writing and clearing. Even honest mistakes could cause chaos. A bounced check could collapse trust in a business overnight. This pushed banks to develop verification systems, identification practices, and careful record keeping. The check helped commerce feel modern, yet it also taught a lesson that repeats with every payment technology. Convenience invites creativity, and not all creativity is friendly. Telegraphs sped up markets, shrinking the time between price and decision. Before the telegraph, news traveled at the pace of horses and ships. Prices in one city could be wildly out of step with another, simply because nobody knew better yet. Then, wires began carrying information faster than any messenger could run. Commodity prices, currency rates, and shipping news could arrive in minutes, and that changed how people traded. Opportunities appeared and vanished quickly. A merchant could respond to a shortage across the country, and rivals could respond just as fast. Speculation intensified because information became a competitive edge. The telegraph also tightened the emotional cycle of markets. Panic could spread quickly, and so could optimism. A rumor no longer had to walk. It could spark in one place, then light up another before lunch. This speed forced new habits. Businesses became more attentive to news. Governments watched financial signals more closely. The world began to feel smaller, and money began to move as if distance mattered less. The gold rushes changed migration patterns by turning rumor into mass movement. Gold rushes were not only about metal. They were about hope that felt almost scientific. Find a place where gold is said to lie near the surface, and you create a story that multiplies itself. Letters, newspapers, and dockside chatter turned a few lucky discoveries into an invitation to anyone with a shovel and nerve. People sold farms, left families, and crossed oceans chasing a chance that was statistically thin, yet emotionally enormous. Entire towns sprang up near rivers, then vanished when the easy finds ran out. The rushes reshaped economies too. Merchants, toolmakers, and transport operators often earned steadier money than miners because they sold necessities to everyone who arrived. Governments hurried to impose rules, taxes, and claims. Conflict followed because when many people chase a scarce prize, the ground itself becomes an argument. Gold rushes reveal how money can mobilize human movement on a massive scale, powered by the simple belief that tomorrow could be different. Gold dust once functioned as money, until scales and trust failed. In early mining camps, gold dust could buy a meal, a drink, or a night's lodging. It was convenient because it came straight from the ground, and it was valuable because people believed others would accept it next. Yet the system depended on honesty and measurement. Without reliable scales, small transactions became a battlefield of tiny disputes. Dust could be mixed with sand or heavier particles, and a dishonest pinch could change the value. Even when everyone tried to be fair, humidity, wind, and human error made precision hard. As camps grew, the need for standardization grew with them. Assayers, refiners, and official mints became more attractive because they could turn uncertain dust into trusted pieces. This shift is fascinating because it shows money in its rawest form. Value was literally dirt in a pouch, and daily life depended on whether strangers believed the weight was real. When trust frayed, the market demanded a cleaner language. Some countries used bimetallism and fought over which metal should dominate. Bimetallism tried to balance two anchors at once. Silver and gold both had long histories, and both were widely valued, yet their market prices could shift over time. Governments attempted to set a fixed ratio between them, hoping to give citizens flexibility and stability. In practice, the policy could become a tug-of-war. If the official ratio differed from the market ratio, one metal tended to disappear from circulation. People would hoard or export the undervalued metal and spend the overvalued one. Political battles followed because different groups had different interests. Miners, bankers, debtors, and creditors could prefer different outcomes. Debates over metal standards were not just technical. They were arguments about whose money would be easier to get, whose debts would feel heavier, and whose savings would hold value. The struggle reveals how deeply money standards reach into everyday fairness. Choosing a standard is choosing winners and losers, even when nobody wants to admit it. A fixed exchange rate can feel stable until pressure snaps it suddenly. A fixed exchange rate is like a calm surface on a windy sea. It can make trade simpler because businesses can plan without worrying about daily currency swings. It can also reassure citizens because the money feels anchored. Yet holding that anchor requires constant effort. If a country imports more than it exports, or if investors begin to worry about policy, pressure builds. The government may spend reserves to defend the peg, and it may raise interest rates to attract money back in. Those moves can strain the economy, especially if wages and jobs are already fragile. At a certain point, defending the rate can cost more than letting it go. When the break comes, it can be dramatic. Prices adjust fast. Confidence shifts. People who planned around the old rate suddenly face a new world. The most gripping part is the psychology. A fixed rate invites people to believe it is permanent, and that belief can encourage risky behavior right up to the moment it fails. Currency unions rise when trade matters more than sovereignty, at least for a while. When neighboring regions trade constantly, multiple currencies can feel like friction. Exchange fees, uncertain rates, and confusing prices all add cost. A shared currency promises smoother commerce and easier travel, and it can signal a deeper political project of cooperation. Yet a currency union also asks members to give up tools. They can no longer set their own interest rates, and they cannot easily devalue to regain competitiveness. That trade-off can feel worth it during good times, when growth is shared and trust is high. During stress, the compromises become sharper. Different regions may face different problems, yet they share one monetary policy. Debates flare over budgets, support, and responsibility. Currency unions are fascinating because they reveal money as a social contract between governments and citizens. A shared currency is not only economics. It is an agreement to weather storms together and to argue within rules rather than break apart at every disagreement. The first modern income taxes reshaped states by making revenue predictable. A state that depends mainly on customs duties or one-time levies can be powerful, yet it can also be unstable. Income taxes changed that. They created a steadier stream of revenue tied to the ongoing activity of citizens and businesses. That predictability made planning easier. Governments could fund services, maintain armies, build infrastructure, and service debts with more confidence about what would arrive next year. Income tax also changed the relationship between citizen and state. To tax income, the state needs records, categories, and enforcement, which pushes administration to grow more detailed. people began arguing about fairness in a new way. Who should pay more and why? What counts as income and what should be exempt? Those debates shaped politics and identity because taxes became a measure of belonging and obligation. This is why income taxes are always more than a budget tool. They are a statement about what a society owes to itself and who is expected to carry the weight. Deposit insurance was invented to stop panic from becoming policy. After repeated waves of bank collapses, governments realized that fear itself was a problem to manage. If ordinary people believe their savings can vanish overnight, they will behave defensively, and that defensive behavior can topple even healthy institutions. Deposit insurance changes the emotional math. It tells depositors that, up to a limit, their money is protected even if the bank fails. That promise can keep people from rushing to withdraw at the first whisper of trouble. It turns a chaotic scramble into a quieter process handled by institutions rather than crowds. The idea is simple, yet its effect is enormous. It stabilizes everyday confidence, which stabilizes lending, which stabilizes jobs and trade. It also shifts responsibility, because the public guarantee creates a reason to regulate banks more closely. In that way, deposit insurance is not only protection for savers. It is a tool for social calm, designed to keep a crisis from feeding on itself. Wartime rationing often created black markets with their own shadow prices. When governments ration goods, they are trying to share scarcity, yet scarcity invites negotiation. If butter, fuel, sugar, or meat is limited by coupons, some people will look for ways around the rules. A black market forms when someone has extra or someone has connections and someone else is desperate enough to pay. Prices in these hidden markets often reflect true scarcity more brutally than official prices do. They reward risk, secrecy, and access. They can also create moral tension, because the same transaction might look like survival to one person and selfishness to another. Wartime black markets reveal how money adapts under pressure. Even when the state tries to control distribution, people create parallel systems that feel more responsive and more unfair. The shadow price becomes a quiet signal. It tells you what people are willing to sacrifice when rules collide with need. The 20th century saw hyperinflations that turned wages into emergency errands. In hyperinflation, money stops acting like a store of value and starts acting like a melting ice cube. Pay arrives, and the first instinct is not to save. It is to spend before prices climb again. Families rush to markets and buy whatever they can that might hold value, even if it is not what they planned to buy. Shopkeepers change price tags constantly, and customers argue with the clock more than with each other. Contracts become difficult to write because tomorrow's price is a mystery. People who live on fixed incomes can be hit hardest because their money cannot chase the rising cost of basics. Hyperinflation is also a social shock. It can break trust between neighbors and between citizens and institutions. Yet it can also reveal resilience as people invent workarounds, trade services, and search for stable anchors. It is a reminder that money is time, and when time collapses, daily life becomes a sprint. In Weimar Germany, money lost value so fast that timing became survival. When prices rise rapidly, the calendar begins to feel like a trap. A paycheck that seems adequate in the morning can feel thin by evening because essentials are repriced again and again. In that environment, people become obsessed with timing. They spend immediately, not out of greed, but out of caution. Businesses struggle to plan because costs change between ordering supplies and receiving them. Saving feels pointless, and long-term thinking becomes painful. The psychological strain can be intense. Trust in institutions weakens, and politics becomes more volatile because people want a decisive end to chaos. Weimar's experience is often remembered in extreme images, yet the human reality is quieter and more frightening. It is the exhaustion of constant recalculation. It is the sense that the ground rules of life have been rewritten without warning. When money cannot keep its meaning, society spends its energy simply trying to keep up. After wars, new currencies often arrived overnight, and old savings vanished. When a war ends, governments face wrecked infrastructure, disrupted trade, and sometimes a currency that has been stretched past credibility. One solution is currency reform. Old notes are exchanged for new ones, sometimes at harsh rates, sometimes with strict limits, sometimes with tight deadlines. The goal is to wipe out black market hoards, curb inflation, and restart normal commerce with a cleaner slate. For citizens, it can feel like a thunderclap. A lifetime of careful saving can shrink in a week. People rush to exchange what they can, and rumors spread about rules changing again. Yet reforms can also bring relief. When a new currency is trusted, shelves refill and bargaining becomes calmer. The deeper story is that money is a public memory of obligations. After war, that memory can be too damaged to keep. So states try to reset the ledger, and the reset leaves winners and losers behind. The Bretton Woods system linked currencies to the dollar and the dollar to gold. After global conflict, leaders wanted a monetary order that reduced chaos and encouraged rebuilding. Bretton Woods created a framework where many countries pegged their currencies to the United States dollar, while the dollar was tied to gold at a fixed rate for official exchange. This arrangement aimed to combine stability with enough flexibility to avoid constant crises. It also placed the dollar at the center of world trade because settling international accounts often meant using dollars as the common language. Institutions were created to support this system and to help countries manage balance of payments problems without immediate collapse. The structure shaped decades of commerce. It made exchange rates more predictable, which supported long-term planning for trade and investment. If it carried a quiet tension, the system required confidence that the anchor was strong and that the promises at its core could be kept. Bretton Woods was not only policy, it was an attempt to rebuild trust at the scale of nations. When that link broke, exchange rates began to float like weather. Once the guarantee tying the dollar to gold ended, the world moved into a new era where many currencies were valued by the market rather than fixed agreements. Instead of a stable peg, exchange rates began shifting day by day based on trade flows, interest rates, expectations, and political confidence. That change created new freedoms. Countries gained more room to run independent monetary policy, especially during recessions or shocks. It also created new risks. Businesses faced uncertainty when pricing exports or planning foreign projects. A contract that looked profitable at one exchange rate could look painful at another. New financial tools grew in importance because companies and investors wanted ways to hedge currency swings. The language of money became more dynamic and more emotional. News could move markets within minutes. In this floating world, currency values began to resemble forecasts. They could change quickly, and everyone learned to watch the skies. Oil shocks showed how energy prices can shake currencies and budgets. When oil prices surge, the effects spread far beyond petrol stations. Energy is embedded in transport, manufacturing, heating, and food production, so rising costs can push general prices upward. Countries that import most of their energy can see trade deficits widen because more money flows abroad to pay for the same fuel. That can weaken a currency, which can make imports even more expensive, and the cycle can tighten. Governments also feel the squeeze. subsidies become costly. Tax revenues can falter if growth slows. Central banks face a difficult choice because fighting inflation can hurt employment, while accommodating inflation can damage confidence. Oil shocks also shift geopolitical power. Exporting states may suddenly gain leverage, while importers scramble for alternatives. The fascination is that a commodity pulled from deep underground can reshape everyday household budgets and global diplomacy at once. Energy price spikes remind us that money is tied to real resources, and real resources can surprise the world. Remittances move money across borders quietly, sustaining families more reliably than aid. A remittance is a private act with public impact. Someone leaves home for work, sometimes at great emotional cost, then sends part of their earnings back to parents, partners, or children. The amounts might seem small per transfer, yet the flow can be steady, and steadiness changes lives. It can cover school fees, medicine, repairs, and food when local wages cannot. Unlike large projects that depend on politics, remittances arrive because a person chooses to keep a promise. That makes them resilient. They also reshape communities. A village might see new roofs, better tools, or new small businesses funded from distant cities. At the same time, there is a hidden strain. Families can become dependent on an absent worker, and migrants can carry constant pressure to provide. The moving part is that remittances are both love and logistics. They show money as a bridge, built one paycheck at a time, across oceans and borders. Sanctions turn banking into geopolitics, since access can matter more than cash. In the modern world, money is not only what you hold, it is what you can use. Sanctions exploit that difference. A government can restrict a country's access to international banking networks, limit transactions in certain currencies, or freeze assets held abroad. The result can be felt far from presidents and generals. Companies struggle to pay suppliers. Imports become harder to finance. Citizens face shortages or rising prices when trade routes tighten. Sanctions also create strange workarounds. New intermediaries appear. Alternative payment channels grow. Some trade shifts into barter, gold, or informal networks that thrive in secrecy. The power of sanctions comes from interdependence. If you rely on global finance to settle deals, being cut off is like losing a language in the middle of an argument. It is also a test of alliances. Banks become gatekeepers, and compliance becomes a form of diplomacy. Sanctions remind you that money systems are also political systems, built on permission as much as value. Offshore havens grew because secrecy became a product people would pay for. An offshore haven is not only a place, it is a service. It offers low taxes, flexible rules, and, above all, discretion. For some people, that discretion is about safety, especially in unstable countries where property rights feel uncertain. For others, it is about avoiding scrutiny, whether from competitors, creditors, or tax authorities. Lawyers and accountants can build structures that separate the true owner from the visible paperwork, using layers of companies and jurisdictions. This can make money hard to trace, and that is the point. The growth of these havens reveals a paradox. Modern finance depends on transparency to prevent fraud, yet parts of the system profit from opacity. Secrecy can also shift burdens. When wealth hides, government may rely more on taxing what cannot move, like wages and consumption. Offshore havens feel distant, yet they affect everyday life by changing what states can collect and what they must cut or charge. It is the geography of finance, where a mailbox can matter more than a factory. Money laundering exists because criminals need clean stories, not just clean bills. Dirty money is not useful until it can be spent without raising alarms. That is why laundering focuses on narrative. It tries to make illegal income look like ordinary profit. The process often moves through stages. Cash is placed into the system, then shifted through transfers, purchases, or complex transactions, then returned as something that appears legitimate. Criminals may use businesses that handle lots of cash because high turnover can hide extra income. They may buy luxury goods, property, or art because value can be stored and moved with fewer questions. Governments and banks respond with reporting rules, identity checks, and investigations that follow unusual patterns. This creates a continuing contest between concealment and detection. The human side is what makes it unsettling. Laundering can connect street crime to respectable institutions because someone has to process the money. It is not only about theft. It is about corrupting trust. When the story behind money is false, every honest transaction feels a little less secure. The euro replaced national currencies and forced old rivals into shared rules. For many Europeans, switching to the euro was more than a new wallet habit. It was a historical statement. Borders that once meant war were asked to mean trade, travel, and shared standards. A single currency made prices easier to compare across countries, and it reduced the friction of exchanging money for routine movement. It also created a shared discipline. Member states could no longer adjust their own currency values to respond to local problems, so the pressures shifted into budgets, wages, and politics. That can be stabilizing, and it can be painful. The euro also changed symbols. Old notes and coins that carried national heroes and stories were replaced by designs meant to represent a collective identity. The fascinating part is that money became a daily reminder of cooperation. Every purchase asked people to live inside the same system, even when they disagreed about policy. The euro is proof that currency can be a peace project and also a source of intense debate because shared money means shared consequences. Counter-terror finance reshaped banking, making identity checks part of ordinary life. After major terrorist attacks, governments began treating financial flows as a battlefield. The idea was simple. If attacks require funding, then disrupting funding can disrupt harm. Banks were asked to watch more closely. They implemented stronger identity checks, tracked suspicious patterns, and reported certain transactions to authorities. This changed everyday experiences. Opening an account began to require more documents. International transfers gained extra scrutiny. Even charities faced new rules because good causes can be exploited by bad actors. The system has benefits, yet it also creates tension. More monitoring can mean fewer blind spots, but it can also mean false alarms, delays, and worries about privacy. It can reshape who gets easy access to banking, because people without stable documents may be pushed to the margins. Counter-terror finance shows how security policies seep into daily life through money, because money passes through systems that can be observed. A purchase becomes a data point, and a transfer becomes a signal. Banking turns into a quiet form of border control, without passports. Mobile money transformed daily trade in places where banks were scarce. In many regions, a bank branch can be hours away, and carrying cash can be risky. Mobile money changed that with a simple promise. Your phone can hold value, send it and receive it, even if you never open a traditional account. Street vendors can accept payments without making change. Families can send money home instantly instead of entrusting it to a traveler. Small businesses can pay suppliers, and workers can receive wages without queues at distant offices. This can boost local commerce because the cost of doing business drops. It also creates new forms of resilience. After floods or disruptions, digital balances can move even when roads are damaged. Yet it introduces new dependencies. Networks must stay up. Agents must have liquidity. Fraudsters may target users unfamiliar with scams. Still, the overall effect is astonishing. A basic handset can become a pocket-sized financial infrastructure. When people gain the ability to transact safely, they often discover new ways to save, plan, and build. Digital payments reduce cash handling, yet they raise new privacy questions. When payments become digital, life can feel smoother. You tap, you go, and you do not count coins or worry about change. Businesses handle fewer cash risks, and transactions can be recorded automatically for budgeting or tax purposes. Yet every digital payment leaves a footprint. It can reveal where you were, what you bought, and when you bought it. That data can be valuable to companies and attractive to governments, and vulnerable to hackers. Digital payments also change who gets included. People without smartphones, stable internet, or formal identity documents can be left behind. There is also a shift in control. If a system can be switched off, then access becomes conditional. Cash works during outages, and it works without permission. Digital money offers speed and convenience, and it can offer security when designed well. It also asks society to decide how much observation is acceptable in exchange for ease. The question is not only technical, it is about autonomy in everyday life. Inflation expectations shape prices now, because belief can move markets before policy acts. Inflation is not only what prices did yesterday, it is what people think prices will do tomorrow. If workers expect higher costs, they push for higher wages. If businesses expect higher input prices, they raise their own prices sooner. If lenders expect money to lose purchasing power, they demand higher interest to compensate. This web of expectations can become self-reinforcing, because each defensive move nudges reality in the feared direction. Governments and central banks therefore spend enormous effort managing credibility. A clear plan and a trusted institution can calm expectations, which can calm actual price setting. A confusing message can do the opposite. This is why speeches, forecasts, and small hints can move markets before any formal decision is made. Money has always been built on belief, and inflation expectations are belief in motion. They show that an economy is partly psychological. The future arrives early, in the form of what people assume about it. A currency's design choices reveal what a state once remembered. Money is handled by almost everyone, which makes it a powerful place to stage a national story. The choice of symbols is rarely random. Some states highlight scientists, writers, or artists to suggest a cultural identity built on learning and creativity. Others emphasize monuments, landscapes, or historic events to anchor belonging in geography and shared memory. The materials matter too. A durable polymer note can signal modernity and security, while a traditional paper note can signal continuity. Even the language and scripts used can reveal who is centered in the national narrative. The design also speaks outward. A currency that travels becomes a visiting card for the country, carried into foreign markets. When designs change, it often marks a shift in values or politics, as if the state is rewriting its own autobiography. This is why collecting money can feel like collecting a timeline of identity. Each note asks a quiet question. Who are we, and what do we want you to see when you look down at your hand? Portraits on money can change after revolutions, as new heroes replace old ones. When a revolution succeeds, it must do more than change laws. It must change legitimacy. One way is to change the faces people touch every day. Removing a monarch from coinage and replacing them with a revolutionary symbol is a declaration that the old order is not coming back. New portraits can elevate martyrs, founders, or idealized figures that represent the movement's values. Sometimes the change is swift, because the new regime wants visible proof of control. Sometimes it is gradual, because printing and minting take time, and old currency still circulates. Either way, the effect is intimate. A portrait in your pocket becomes a lesson in who deserves honor. It can also be a warning. If you carry the wrong money in the wrong moment, it can mark you as loyal to the past. Currency portraits show how politics enters daily life silently, through errands and wages and market stalls, until the news story feels normal. Money carries bacteria, which is why some hospitals treat cash as a hygiene risk. Cash travels constantly. It passes through hands, pockets, tills, and tabletops, then returns again. Anything that moves that way can pick up microbes, including bacteria. In medical settings where patients may be vulnerable and surfaces are cleaned carefully, cash can be treated as an avoidable contamination route. Staff may prefer contactless payment, and some facilities encourage limiting cash handling near clinical areas. The concern is not that every banknote is dangerous on its own. The concern is that a high-traffic object can move germs between people who never meet. This is one reason money has been studied in public health discussions, especially during outbreaks when hygiene habits become sharper. It also creates a surprising cultural shift. Cash has long been associated with certainty and privacy, yet in some environments it now carries an image of dirtiness. Money can be trusted and unclean at the same time, which feels almost poetic. A symbol of value becomes a reminder that we live in bodies, not just in ledgers. The largest banknotes often appear in crises, when small units become inconvenient. When prices rise rapidly, daily transactions become awkward. A simple purchase might require thick stacks of small notes, and counting them becomes slow and frustrating. In those conditions, governments or central banks sometimes introduce higher denomination notes to keep commerce moving. The decision is practical, yet it carries a message. A large note can signal that the currency has lost purchasing power, because what once fit into a small unit now requires a bigger one. It can also invite suspicion, because high denominations are convenient for legitimate large purchases and for illicit activity alike. People may associate them with hoarding, bribery, or black market deals, even if they are also used for perfectly normal reasons. The presence of very large notes can therefore reshape behavior. Some people welcome the convenience. Others rush to convert savings into sturdier assets because the note feels like evidence of instability. These banknotes are like emergency tools. They make the machine run, but they also reveal that the machine is under strain. In prisons, cigarettes and noodles have functioned as money when cash is banned. When official cash is forbidden, people still need a way to trade, save, and settle small debts. In many prisons, certain goods become a practical stand-in, especially items that are widely desired, divisible, and hard to fake. Cigarettes once filled that role in many places, and in other settings, instant noodles, stamps, or sachets of coffee have done the job. Value comes from usefulness and scarcity, but also from consistency. If everyone recognizes the item and can store it without it spoiling quickly, it becomes reliable. Prices emerge naturally. One item might buy a haircut, another might cover a favor, and larger bundles might serve as long-term savings. This kind of currency also reveals how economics survives constraint. Even in tightly controlled environments, people create markets, set rates, and enforce norms. Money appears wherever exchange needs a common language. During shortages, chocolate and soap have briefly become currency in occupied cities. In wartime shortages, official money can keep its name while losing its power. When shelves are empty and supply is uncertain, people shift toward items that are immediately useful. Chocolate can be energy, comfort, and morale in one small package. Soap can be hygiene, health, and dignity. When these goods become scarce, they also become negotiable. A bar of soap might secure a service, smooth a bureaucratic obstacle, or trade for food in a way that a banknote cannot. These temporary currencies often flourish in occupied or rationed cities where rules restrict legal buying. They also create moral complexity. A trade that looks like profiteering from one angle can look like survival from another. The fascinating part is how quickly value can change form. A society can move from paper promises to practical goods almost overnight, and everyone understands the new pricing without needing a decree. In some disasters, cash becomes vital again when networks and power fail. Digital payments feel effortless until the electricity goes out. After storms, floods, or major outages, the systems behind cards and phone payments can fail all at once. Terminals cannot connect. Banks may close early. Mobile towers may be down. In those moments, cash becomes a tool of continuity. It does not need a signal, an account login, or a working server. A shopkeeper can accept it by torchlight. A family can buy fuel, water, or a ride when everything else is uncertain. Cash also works across social boundaries. It can help neighbors help each other without paperwork or delays. This does not make cash perfect because it can be lost or stolen, and making change can become difficult. Yet disasters reveal why physical money persists. It is a backup system for trust when technology is temporarily absent, and it can keep local life moving while larger systems recover. The phrase legal tender means creditors must accept payment, even if they dislike it. Legal tender sounds polite, yet it carries real force. It defines what counts as an acceptable way to settle a debt within a jurisdiction. If you owe someone money and you offer payment using the recognized tender for that amount, the creditor cannot refuse simply because they would prefer a different form. This rule matters most in disputes, when emotions rise and trust is thin. It protects debtors from being trapped by unreasonable demands, and it helps courts decide when an obligation has been satisfied. It also anchors the authority of a currency. A note or coin is not only a convenient tool, it is backed by a legal framework that gives it finality in certain situations. Yet legal tender does not guarantee universal love. People can still prefer other methods for everyday transactions, and businesses can set policies for what they accept in normal sales. The key idea is closure. Legal tender provides a widely recognized ending to an argument about payment. Seigniorage lets states profit from money creation, which can tempt reckless printing. When a state issues currency, it can gain a kind of revenue from the difference between what money costs to produce and what it can buy. That game is called seigniorage. In small, stable doses, it can help fund public functions, especially when economies are growing and need more currency in circulation. The temptation appears when leaders face expensive promises, war costs, or political pressure to spend without raising unpopular taxes. Creating more money can feel like a hidden shortcut because the immediate effect is purchasing power. The long-term effect can be inflation if the supply outruns real goods and services. Citizens then pay the cost through higher prices and reduced purchasing power, often unevenly. Seigniorage is fascinating because it sits at the crossroads of engineering and ethics. It can be a legitimate tool of statecraft, and it can also become an instrument of denial. The printing press can solve today's problem while quietly creating tomorrow's crisis. Gresham's law says bad money can drive good money out of circulation. Imagine two kinds of coins used side by side, both accepted as equal in payment by law or custom. One type contains more precious metal and the other contains less. People quickly learn a strategy. They spend the lower value coins and keep the higher value ones. The better coins may be hoarded, melted down, or exported because they are worth more as metal than as money. Over time, the good money becomes scarce in everyday transactions, while the bad money dominates the market. This pattern is often summarized as bad money driving out good, though the deeper point is about incentives. People respond to value differences when rules pretend those differences do not exist. The idea helps explain why debased coinage can linger, why older high-quality coins can vanish from wallets, and why currency reforms can be difficult. Gresham's law is a reminder that money is not only what authorities declare, it is also what people do, quietly, when nobody is watching. The time value of money explains why interest rewards patience and punishes delay. A pound today is not the same as a pound next year, because time creates opportunity and risk. If you hold money now, you can invest it, save it for emergencies, or use it to avoid borrowing. If you lend it out, you give up those options, and you take on the risk that you might not get it back on time. Interest is the price placed on that waiting and on that uncertainty. This idea reshaped commerce because it made time countable. A merchant could compare profits across ventures with different timelines. A builder could justify borrowing to create something that pays back over years. Households could weigh saving now against spending now. The time value of money also explains why inflation matters to lenders. If prices rise, future repayments buy less, so lenders demand higher rates to protect themselves. There is a quiet drama in this concept. It turns patience into something that can be priced, traded, and argued over, and it makes the future feel present inside every loan contract. The poorest often pay the highest fees because poverty makes transactions expensive. When you have money, convenience is cheap. You can maintain minimum balances, qualify for better accounts, and absorb surprise charges without panic. When you are poor, the same system can become costly. Missing a payment can trigger a fee, and that fee can cause the next missed payment. Cashing a check may require a service that takes a cut. Paying bills might mean travel costs, time off work, or using pay-as-you-go options with higher unit prices. Limited credit history can push people toward expensive borrowing, even when they are highly reliable in everyday life. This is not only unfair, it is structurally inefficient because it drains resources from households that most need stability. The pattern has been called a poverty premium, and it shows how the cost of being broke is not only emotional, it is financial. Money systems can punish people for not having buffers, which makes building buffers harder. That loop is one of the most haunting stories in modern finance, because it hides in ordinary fees and paperwork. Measuring wealth is tricky, because money counts value but misses many costs. Wealth looks simple when you reduce it to numbers, yet numbers can hide as much as they reveal. Income tells you what arrives, but it does not tell you what must be spent to stay afloat. A person may earn well, yet be drained by rent, healthcare, caring duties, or debt. Assets can be valuable on paper, but hard to sell quickly without loss. Public services complicate the picture too. Two families with similar incomes can live very different lives depending on schooling, transport, safety, and access to care. Even at the national level, the same problem appears. A booming economy can coexist with loneliness, pollution, and fragile health, which do not always show up in financial measures. This is why historians and economists argue over what indicators truly matter. Money is a powerful measuring tool, yet it is not a full description of human well-being. It can count what is priced, and it can ignore what is priceless. and both facts can be true at the same time. Money keeps changing form, yet it always returns to the same question of trust. Across history, money has worn countless disguises. It has been metal, paper, ledger entries, and signals moving through global networks. Each new form promises convenience, speed, or security, and each new form creates new worries. People ask, will this hold value? Will others accept it? Will the issuer honor the promise? Will the system work tomorrow? These questions sound modern, yet they are ancient. They appear in stories of clipped coins, fragile paper, bank runs, and digital keys, lost with a single mistake. Technology can change the wrapper, but the core problem stays surprisingly human. Money is a shared agreement about value across time and distance. It allows strangers to cooperate without knowing each other's lives. That cooperation depends on confidence, and confidence can be built, damaged, repaired, and sometimes exploited. When you hold money, you are holding more than a tool. You are holding a relationship with society itself, and that relationship is made of trust. As we come to the end of our journey through the history of money, you can let the ideas settle like coins at the bottom of a quiet drawer. We have wandered through marketplaces where shells and salt carried value, and through empires where silver and gold connected distant lives without them ever meeting. We have seen how promises became paper, how paper became systems, and how systems could tremble when trust was shaken. We drifted past crowded exchanges where excitement could lift prices like a tide, and we stood in the shadow of moments when inflation turned ordinary errands into urgent races. We watched money travel along trade routes, across oceans, and later through wires and signals, until value could move faster than any horse or ship. Again and again, the shape of money changed, yet the same quiet question returned. Do we believe this will be honored? Do we believe it will still mean something tomorrow? If you enjoyed this sleepy journey through history, you can like, subscribe, or leave a soft comment. It helps the channel reach others who might need a calm place to land at the end of the day. And if you are still awake, there will be another video waiting on your screen, ready to carry you onward into another slow story. For now, you do not need to hold on to every detail. Let the timeline fade into the background, like a lantern being lowered. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders loosen. Feel the weight of the day easing away as your breathing finds its own steady rhythm. You have done enough for today. Sleep well, and good night.